All right, welcome to the final part of our journey through ISO/ISO 4200. We've come a long way, right? We've talked context, leadership, planning, and operations. But here's the thing. Building this system is really just getting to the starting line. The real race is making sure it actually works and gets better over time. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now. So let's start with the big question, the one that drives these final clauses. You've built your AI management system, your AIMS. Now what? Is it actually effective? Because an AIMS is not some set it and forget it kind of project. It's a living, breathing thing. So how do we actually keep a finger on its pulse and make sure it's not just a nice document, but a powerful tool that works in the real world? Well, the answer is all about creating a powerful feedback loop. Honestly, the best way to think about this is like an engine. It's the check and act engine that powers your entire system forward. It's this disciplined cycle of checking how you're doing, and then, and this is the important part, acting on what you learn to make the whole system smarter and stronger. Now, if you've been around any ISO standard before, the plan, do, check, act cycle is probably an old friend. We've already spent a lot of time on plan and do in our previous explainers. Today, we are laser focused on check and act because this is where the real learning happens. This is what separates a system that just exists from one that truly excels. Okay, let's dive into the check phase, which is everything covered in Clause 9, performance evaluation. I want you to think of this clause as your organization's intelligence gathering operation. Its one and only mission? To collect the vital data you need to make smart, informed decisions about your AI management system. And the very foundation of that operation starts right here, in subclause 9.1. You know that old saying, you can't manage what you don't measure? Well, that is the absolute soul of this clause. It demands that you have a systematic way to track how your AIMS is actually performing against the goals you set for it. And in the standard is really, really specific here. You have to spell out exactly what you're going to monitor, how you're going to do it to get results you can trust, when you're going to do the measuring, and when you'll sit down to analyze what it all means. There's just no room to be vague. And of course, you have to document the results as evidence. So you're collecting data. Awesome. But how do you double-check that your organization is actually following its own rules, let alone the standards rules? Well, that's where the internal audit comes in. Think of it as a formal, structured health check for your entire system. And the standard lays down some clear ground rules for these audits. First, they have to be planned. You can't just do them whenever. Their whole point is to confirm you're sticking to the plan, both your own rules and the ISO standard. Now, this next one is absolutely critical. Your auditors have to be objective and impartial. They can't be marking their own homework, you know? This isn't about finding ways to look good, it's about getting an honest picture of your system's health. Then those findings go directly to management and, you guessed it, it all gets documented. All this incredible intelligence from your daily monitoring and your deep dive audits, it can't just get stuck in a report on someone's desk. It has to go up. It has to be elevated. So Clause 9.3 requires that top management gets personally involved. They have to review the entire AIMS at planned intervals to make sure it's still suitable, adequate, and effective. This is really where the high-level strategy connects with the day-to-day reality. And this is a perfect illustration of that engine we talked about. You see all these inputs going into the review on the left, audit results, market changes, you name it. And based on all that intel, management produces the outputs on the right, real, concrete decisions about what needs to change and where the system can get better. It's a direct path from data to action. And to wrap up Clause 9, the standard hammers home a point we've heard before because it's that important. You need proof. The decisions, the discussions, the action items from these high-level reviews, they all have to be documented. And this isn't just red tape. It's how you demonstrate that leadership is actively steering the ship, not just watching from the shore. Okay, so we've finished the check part, we've gathered all our intelligence. Now it's time to act. And that brings us to Clause 10, improvement. This is where we take everything we've learned and use it to actively upgrade the system. This is where insight becomes progress. And I love this. The very first subclause just gets right to it. It says the organization shall continually improve the system. It's not about a single massive overhaul. It's a philosophy. It is a deep-seated commitment to making sure your AIMS is better tomorrow than it is today, every single day. Now, this philosophy of always improving is great. But let's be realistic for a second. In any complex system, things are going to go wrong. It's just a fact of life. Processes will get missed, things will break. So the real question is, how does a healthy, resilient system respond when that happens? The standard gives us a very clean and simple name for this, a nonconformity. It sounds a little technical, but all it means is that a requirement wasn't met. That's it. It could be a piece of code that failed, or it could be a team that didn't follow a process. If it didn't happen the way it was supposed to, it's a nonconformity. So when a nonconformity pops up, Clause 10.2 gives you a super logical playbook. First, you react. You contain the problem, you put out the fire. But stopping there is just firefighting. The really crucial part is what comes next. You have to evaluate the cause. Why did this happen in the first place? You become a detective. Once you know the why, you can implement a fix that eliminates the root cause. You check to make sure your fix actually worked, and then you update the whole system so it learns from the mistake. And you knew this was coming. This entire process has to be documented. You need a clear record of what broke, what you did about it, and what the result was. And look, this isn't about creating a paper trail to point fingers. It's about building an institutional memory, a brain for your organization, so that every single problem becomes a lesson that makes the entire system stronger. So now, when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, you can really see it, can't you? You see how Clause 9 and Clause 10 are like two gears in a machine, working together perfectly. They are the mechanisms that make sure your AI management system never becomes that dusty binder sitting on a shelf. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. This check-act loop is what transforms your aims from a static set of rules into a dynamic, intelligent system. It creates a framework that can learn, that can adapt to new tech, and that can consistently get better. This is how you stop just checking boxes for compliance and start building real, lasting resilience in your organization. And so, as we wrap up our entire series on ISO 42001, I'll just leave you with this one final thought. By embedding this powerful cycle of checking your performance and then acting to improve it, you're not just building a system that's compliant for today. You're building a governance framework that's truly prepared for whatever AI throws at us tomorrow.